Hi, I'm Sarah from the upcoming. A real pleasure to be with you here in Cannes. Huge congratulations on this really beautiful film. For people who haven't seen The Wanderers yet, can you give us an introduction in your own words?
It's definitely based on a true story, my family's story. We lived with what we call une errance de diagnostic. I don't know how you say that in English, but the idea is you live with a disease without knowing the name of it, And for my family, it lasted for 22 years, which is huge, In the movie, it's going to maybe last a little bit. I cannot say, but maybe a bit shorter. And it's just about this family, living with this reality, with this child called Bertie. And everything is definitely evolving around her, their everyday life, every move, everything. So that's it. And it lasts during a year, Marion, last high school year.
And of course, after a really successful career as an actress, did you always have it in mind that you would one day step behind the camera? And was it perhaps wanting to tell this very personal story that gave you the impetus?
No, I think I knew I wanted to do this, direct. And I had this feeling, this gut feeling about it. And when I started to work as an actress, one of my first movie was with Mélanie Laurent as a director. And I was like, oh, okay, you can do both, like being an actress and a director. Okay, that's so cool. I want to do this. And I knew that someday, somehow, I was meant to direct this story, But I was sure that would never be my first movie. I'm like, it's too intimate, it's too personal. It's going to be maybe a second or third movie, but never the first one. Eventually, I was like, I have to start here, That's the beginning of everything for me. And eventually, when I got 27, I think, we got the diagnosis for my sister. And when I got the name, I was able to write the first sentence of the script. So that's how it began.
And when it is something that is so close to you, how do you kind of get that balance between being able to sort of tell the story authentically, but then also obviously craft a story, be so close to it, but also have a bit of distance, I guess, by having a co-writer and maybe the decision also not to act in it yourself? Could you kind of just keep that little bit of distance from it?
First, you go to a therapist, the beginning of everything. And so, yeah, I think I was able to do so because I was actually at peace with my story, at the moment I started to work on it. But still very close to it, obviously, because my sister is everywhere around us, So, but it started, I think, in a very intimate way, kind of a diary, at first, like a diary of memories, and then eventually it evolved into something more complex and written, because I really wanted this to look like a movie and not like a documentary. And so I started to work with a wonderful script doctor called Olivia, wonderful man. And he really, together we took this very intimate story into something else and make it evolve into a narrative path for every character.
And in terms of the look and feel of the film, I think what's wonderful about it is that it sort of, quite seamlessly moves between moments of sort of quite raw realism into something that can feel a bit more dreamlike, and there is kind of this repeated refrain, particularly from Madeline, about, we can be in her world too. It's a wonderful world. So was that something you wanted to capture alongside the real sort of realism?
Definitely, but it was just such a mystery for me, when I started to work with my director of photography, Romain Carcanade. He was like, okay, how are we going to shoot Bertie's world? Because it's so important, like it's a mystery. And I'm like, it's a mystery for me too. So, and I'm living with her. So, and we were, okay, so it has to be about sensation, feelings, touching things, hearing things. And that's what we worked on, and that's why we also wanted brightness and colors in the movie, like not something like there are tons of colors. It's very coming of age, when you see the colors. It's very into this kind of vibe that I adore, like Lady Bird and Boyhood, and that's what we wanted, for the movie as well. So that's how we built this. But we took so much pleasure doing it. I remember a day we were shooting, and Sarah, the the wonderful actress who's playing Bertie, she has to work with, she's playing with fruits, and she's putting fruits everywhere, and we had such a pleasure, to take fruits and putting it everywhere, on her face, on the floor. And it was very childlike kind of sensation, and but just grown-ups on the set, playing children actually.
And you also kind of don't shy away from the bits that, maybe other people would cut out, like when she's having to be changed, or, there's like dirt on her face, but then you also mix that in with these moments of joy, like the water fight. So was it important for you to kind of get both sides of it, not kind of romanticize it in any way?
Definitely. I don't want to romanticize it, but I didn't want it to be too, how to say this, deductive and like a documentary. I think there are amazing documentaries about it, and I wanted to do something else, something different, like telling the truth, but beautifully, like on a movie screen. And that's what we worked on. But I did not want to shy away from this. You talked about it. It's like the opening of the movie. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but there is this idea of making a pact with the spectator, like, okay, that's it. So that's hard, but don't worry, it has a way of coming around, This first scene is about this, that's really what I wanted to share.
And you've assembled such a wonderful cast. I mean, I guess Melanie was the first one on board. You'd already worked together. But how did you bring them all on board? And I guess create this feeling of trust. I mean, like, just spoken to all of them, they sort of all commented on, it was almost the atmosphere on sets allowed this sort of freedom and allowed for sort of those nuanced dynamics to come to the fore without perhaps having to overwork it or rehearse, etc.
Yeah, I think that first of all, when you got amazing actors, you can relax a bit, You're like, okay, that's gonna be okay. And when you invite someone on this kind of journey, and when they have so much joy about sharing it with you, you can let them free of doing so many things, And with the girls, it was very different because obviously Mélanie is very experienced. Pierre-Yves also as well, very experienced, they are works. But I had like very experienced actors and those two young girls that just started to work at this time, and we worked, but in a very playful and fun way. I think a bit like I worked with Melanie in the time, I kind of reproduced maybe what we did for Breathe, the movie we made together. I wanted it to be very light and very playful, and I truly believe that if you want actors to feel free on your set, they have to feel good, And obviously, it was a family, I needed to find a family in it. So I needed to be soft and cool and to have good moments and sharing meals, together before starting, because I truly believe that it would help us a lot afterwards.
And in terms of the takeaways from the film, I guess by sort of striking this tone where you're not shying away from the difficulties, you're not shying away from the realism, but keeping this lightness and this levity that, despite kind of, maybe getting people to confront what it might be like to be in that situation, actually come out cinema feeling full of joy and sort of like wanting to make the most of the everyday and find those moments of beauty. So what do you hope people take away?
I think it's a love letter to my family, obviously, I wanted it to be a movie, but finally, and in my core, it's just a love letter to my parents, to my sisters, to the people that shared those moments with us. In life, obviously, even in difficulties, you have this, I don't know, everybody lived this, you're crying out loud, and then eventually you're just starting to laugh because it's so crazy that, you're even taking, sometimes. So I wanted this to feel like this, like very alive and very lightful as well, because that's life, right?
Having your first film here in Cannes?
That's crazy. Yesterday I feel so much lighter now, but yesterday I was crazy nervous. It's so different because obviously as an actress, it's nerve-wracking already, but as a director, there is something, I felt naked yesterday, you know, and yet I had a very beautiful dress. So I wasn't naked on the red carpet. Don't try to find images of this, but I felt very much naked. And but it felt so good, you know, to be seen and to feel that my family was seen. But I think many other families, you know, I think it's not only for people that are living with this kind of issues, you know. I think I truly hope that it's a love letter to every family, you know.
100%. Thank you so much for sharing all that with me.
Thank you.
Huge congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Setting a film here in Cannes.